Hi everyone. In this lesson we're going to look at how to find the equation of a line and how to use the slope-intercept form of a line to graph a linear equation. So if you recall, the slope-intercept form of a line is the form y equals mx plus b. M is the slope and b is the y-intercept. And so here are the steps that we're going to take. First, we're going to start out by graphing the point on the line, and we're going to graph the y-intercept, which is the point 0, comma b. In other words, if we had our equation, we're going to plug in 0 and find out what the y coordinate is. If you look at this example, here we're trying to graph y equals negative 5x. So in step 1, we're going to take our equation, replace 0, and get that the y-intercept is 0. So we have a point at 0, comma 0 here. And now the second step, we're going to use the slope to find another point on the line. So the slope here, we can see that it's negative 5, and since we're going to use it to graph, it's good to know what the run is. So if it's a integer or a whole number, we write it under a 1 so that you can see that we're going to run 1. And so if you look at the point, if I go up, oh sorry, not up, but 5 down, so it's a negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then run 1, I end up at this point here. And I'm always going to start at a point that's already on the line. So I started at this 0, 0 for my y-intercept, went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then over 1. There, that's enough to draw the line because I have 2 points. So I have my line from here to here. And there's our equation, which is a lot faster than if I was trying to use a table to graph this line. Now let's look at another example to use this method. Now here in this example, notice that my equation is not in slope-intercept form. So our first step is going to be to write the equation in slope-intercept form. So we'll take our equation, so 4x minus 7y equal to negative 14. And I want to get this y by itself to get it in slope-intercept form. So let me take away 4x from both sides. And I have that negative 7y is equal to negative 4x minus 14. So it's not quite y yet, so I need to get rid of this negative 7, and we'll do that by dividing both sides of the equation by negative 7. So let me rewrite it up here. Negative 7y equals negative 4x minus 14. And here I'll divide by negative 7 the entire equation. And I end up with y is equal to negative divided by a negative is a positive. So I end up with 4 over 7x. Same here. Positive, and 7 goes into 14 2 times. So here's my equation in slope-intercept form. My y-intercept is 0, comma 2. Here's my b, 2. And then the slope is 4 over 7. So we'll start by graphing the y-intercept. So again, 0, comma 2. Plug in 0 here, and you see we get 2. And that's why b is always the y-intercept. So I'll go to my graph, go to 0, comma 2. Here's my y-intercept. And like I said, you start from this point and use the slope. And the slope was 4 over 7. So from this point, if I go up 4 or rise 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then over 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 would be here. And you can see that I have my line here from going through these 2 points. All right, so that's how you graph using the slope-intercept form. Now let's use, or the next thing that we're going to look at is how to find the equation of a line, or write the equation of a line given a couple conditions. In the first scenario, we're going to have an equation, and we're going to be given the slope and a point that's contained by that line. And what we're going to use is this point slope form of a line. So if you notice, what we have is y minus y1, which is y sub 1, and it's equal to m, and in parentheses, times x minus x sub 1. Here we know that the m is the slope, and then the point that's given to us is represented by x sub 1 comma y sub 1. So the x and the y that you see in the formula or the form, those will always stay as x and y. And so if, let me write the form here, y minus y sub 1 is equal to my slope times x times, or sorry, times x minus x sub 1. So all I really want to have is, what is the slope? So I can plug it in there, and I can see from the information that it's -8. And then I need a point on the line. It doesn't have, it could be any point. And in this case, the point that I have is this one, -1 comma -5. And now I'm going to plug both of these in into the form. So we have y minus the y coordinate. Now the y coordinate was a -5, so be careful there so you don't confuse this attraction sign with this negative sign. And then the slope is -8, parentheses x minus the x coordinate, which is also negative, and it's -1. Now if you just wanted any equation of the line, this is the equation of the line, and it's in point slope form. If you want to see it in slope-intercept form, though, you just do the following steps to get y by itself. So here, minus -5 would be the same as +5. And here, let me rewrite this parentheses. This would be +1 because of the minus the negative. And let me distribute this -8 here and keep this side the same for now. So you have -8x minus 8. And then finally take away 5. Take away 5. And you have that y is equal to -8x minus 13. And so here's another form of the line, but like I said, the original one is also the equation of the line. And now this one is nice because you can see that, yes, the slope is -8 like we knew, but we also know that the line would cross the y-axis at -13. So it's useful to have it in this form also. All right, so that's one scenario. We have the slope and a point on the line. Now let's see, or let's consider a scenario where you have 2 points on the line and you want to find the equation of the line that represents or that contains these 2 points. So in the point slope formula, you saw we need the slope and a point. Now we already have a point, and we actually have 2 points here, and it doesn't matter which one we'll use, but at least we have one. What we don't have is the slope. But fortunately, I know that the slope can be found if you take this formula, which was the difference of the y's divided by the difference of the x coordinates. So if I take my 2 points, I'll call this guy y2, so -1 minus the other y, which is 3, and then this x, -1 minus this x, which is a 2, and we end up with -4 over -3. And if I simplify the negative divided by a negative, it's really +4 over 3. So now I have the slope, and of course I had more than one point. So when you get to this portion, now when I plug it into this point slope, you can choose any of the 2 points, and I'll go with the first one just because it's first, but you could have used this one. So y minus the y coordinate, which is 3, is equal to my slope, 4 over 3, times x minus the x coordinate, which is 2. And like I said before, this is an equation of the line. It's just in point slope form. If you would like to write it in slope intercept form, you would get y by itself. All right, I hope this helps.